this year, I was walking through King's Cross Station. There's nothing unusual there. I find myself in London most weeks. I work in Parliament on the Committee of Standards. I'm one of 7 lay members who assess, adjudicate and sanction MPs who break the Code of Conduct. There's 7 lay members and 7 parliamentarians on the committee. This had been a particularly difficult meeting. It was challenging intellectually and emotionally draining. I absolutely disagreed with the perspective of one of the MPs. I used reason and rationale. I pulled from inside every bit of evidence I could hold on to, and I influenced the vote. It was one of those moments when I knew I'd done my absolute best. You recognise those moments. It might be when you've iced an amazing cake and you stand back and look at it proudly. You may have aced an exam, scored a goal in a sports match, but when you know that you've pulled everything you possibly can to do your absolute best, this was one of those moments for me. So I wasn't walking through King's Cross Station. To be fair, I was gliding. I had a huge smile on my face. I was suited and booted, full face of makeup. I was pulling an eye-wateringly expensive laptop case. I felt damn proud of myself and I looked every bit the professional. And then I saw her. She had greasy blonde hair. She was dirty and dishevelled. She was clearly intoxicated. She was pulling a huge suitcase with a folded up duvet on top. I couldn't move. I felt sick. I followed her into a shop, not believing my eyes. And when she came back out, I stood there and I looked at her and I quietly said, "Abby?" And I saw her look at me and a flicker of recognition in her eyes as she took in my attire. And she said, "Tammy." Suddenly I was 16 again. 22 years previously, I lived with Abby. We lived in the same homeless hostel. I remember clearly the day I met her. It was the day of my 16th birthday, and it was the day that I moved into the hostel. Now, I walked in with my shoulders back, my head held high, and a big smile on my face. But actually, I felt sick. I was petrified, and I can tell you standing here that I didn't want to live anymore. I'd been sleeping on the streets for a while. The night before, I'd been assaulted. But still, I had my mask on. I was okay, and in I walked. And Abby was standing there. She had flowing blonde hair, a frame really similar to mine, and a smile that eclipsed me. And she just said, "Hi, I'm Abby. Welcome." And we just laughed. Now you might wonder why I'm still up here telling you all this. What on earth has my history got to do with you guys here today? But I want to use this extreme example to explain to you the small incremental steps that I took to make huge changes in my life. And I want to explain to you how you have the power to help other people make that change. I'm really lucky. I'm standing here today. I've got my wonderful children in the audience. They make me proud every day. I have an amazing husband. I've got brilliant friends. I run my own training company. Things are going pretty well for me. But I can tell you there was absolutely no difference between Abby and I. We're just in different positions right now. She's sleeping rough at King's Cross Station. She's addicted to heroin. She has 3 children that are being cared for by other people. But 22 years ago, we were in the exact same position. What changed? Connection, environment, and opportunity. When working together, these things are absolute game changers. And there was one person who started off the domino effect that absolutely changed my life. So Abby and I, well, when you're 16 years old, you're vulnerable, you're young, and you're homeless, I can tell you do everything you possibly can to survive. I won't go into details, I've told you my children are in the room, but you do. And so we spent a couple of months where we were joined at the hip and we were looking out for each other. We were doing what we needed to do to get by. But after a particularly difficult night, there's no surprise that I found myself stomping into the local college. That might seem random to some of you, but actually, in my younger years, in my abusive childhood, education had been a solace to me. School was my safe place. So after a really difficult night, I stomped into the college and I insisted they enrol me. So you can imagine, 16 years old, a few expletives coming out of my mouth. Enrol me. I want to join this college. No surprise, I was marched out, they called security. Yeah, they weren't very inviting at that point. But luckily for me, a lady followed me out the door. She asked me quietly if I knew what an appeal was. She told me that her name was Jane. And she said to me she would help me appeal on one condition, and that was if I engaged positively in her lessons. And then she quietly walked away. Well, I'm really glad she walked away because I was furious, absolutely furious. I was angry. How on earth dare she? Up until that point in my life, adults had always wanted something. They wanted something or they were exploitative and abusive. And there was this lady who I'd never met before saying to me, I'll give you a chance. I was so cross with her. Over the next couple of weeks, I felt something that I hadn't felt since the age of 7. I felt hope. Jane had given me the gift of hope. And so I went back to the college. I didn't have the confidence to go and find her, so I just loitered around and just hoped she found me. And she did. Of course she did, otherwise I wouldn't be telling this story. And that was the beginning of my hybrid life. Jane had started off positive connection for me. Jane had given me the opportunity to change my environment. Jane had given me the chance that I was absolutely desperate for. So my hybrid life went a little bit like this. During the day I turned up at college, sometimes I engaged, sometimes I didn't engage. Jane would let me lie at the back of the class and sleep. She could see the bags under my eyes, she could see the bones from my skin, but I was there. And at night time, well, I was doing whatever I could to survive. And when the other people in the hostel were sleeping off the night before, including Abby, I was at college learning. I was there. But you know, you might be sitting there thinking, lucky her. I hope she was grateful for that opportunity. I can tell you now I wasn't. I was angry, really angry. I was ungrateful. I was abusive. I was aggressive. I was not an easy 16-year-old. But Jane's unwavering kindness, the fact that she arranged anger therapy sessions for me, the fact that she went and spoke to all the teachers before I had a session with them to tell them what to expect. But please just look out for that little spark in her. Look out for that part of Tammy that wants to achieve, wants to grow, wants to develop. She was there with her unwavering kindness. She was helping me build those positive connections. She was helping my environment change. She was giving me those opportunities. Now I keep going back to connection, opportunity, environment, and that's because they really, when they work together, they are absolute game changers. And hopefully you'll recognise this. We're human beings. We're social. As John Smith from Good Therapy says, all we want is to belong. All we want is to be with other people who have shared values. We want to feel cared for, we want to feel loved. I've seen this in my personal life and in my professional life. For the last 20 years, I've seen people who don't have that connection being exploited, joining gangs, doing things they would have never have dreamed of previously, being radicalised. Human connection is so important. We desperately want to belong. And I didn't feel like I belonged to college at that point. I felt completely out of place. But I did feel like I belonged to the homeless community. Environment. Environment's equally important. I truly believe that we are made up of what we surround ourselves with. That we pull this invisible suitcase along with us through life and we fill it with our experiences. And it might be the people that you're spending your time with. It might be the media that you're reading. But that invisible suitcase is being filled with stereotypes, with biases, with judgments, with experiences, with values. That's what makes us. That's what makes us as a person. So positive environment is so important. And opportunity. Opportunity is key. We're lucky sat in this room. We have comparative privilege. We clearly have the time, the inclination and the desire to be here. But actually for some people, opportunity is massively unavailable. One of the hardest things about being homeless was feeling powerless, was feeling invisible, was feeling that people just did not notice me and did not care. And this is where I get really angry with the welfare system, because actually it's supposed to be set up to help and to support and to move people on their journey, whereas actually currently it labels, it demoralises, and it plays to stereotypes. In my life, Jane started off that domino effect. Abby didn't have that. The sliding doors moment came for me when Jane asked me if I'd ever thought about going to university. I literally laughed in her face. Not nastily, but university? Seriously? That was unobtainable. I actually didn't know anybody that had ever been to university. I can tell you 22 years later that I have a degree in psychology, multiple postgraduate qualifications. So yes, I went. And that was when my environment really changed. If Jane had asked me when I was 16 to make a choice between college and the homeless community, I'd have picked the homeless community, because that's where I was connected. That's where I felt like I belonged. That's where I felt like people saw me. But actually living my hybrid life, step by step, those incremental changes made me realise that actually I could be part of something else too. Now, I've painted Jane as a superhero in my story, and that's because for me, she was. But she had 100 other sidekicks. The other college tutors that would smile, tap me on the back as I walked past. The police officers who looked the other way because they knew a criminal record wouldn't help me on my journey. The shopkeepers that reduced things, especially for when I went in. The baker who left the cakes and the bread at the back so that I could steal them whilst he wasn't looking, so that I could feed myself. There were thousands of sidekicks, thousands. And it was that kindness and that belief and that opportunity that kept me going. So what does this have to do with you guys? I'm using an extreme example to tell you how people's kindness, how seeing past the stereotypes, not being judgmental, changed my life. We're all frustrated by this current political climate. We all feel powerless. But what I'd like to tell you today is you absolutely have the power to make change. Whether that's to yourself, to your friends, whether that's to the wider community. Whether you care about the individuals that are struggling, or whether you care about the impact that poverty is having on our current society, you can be the one that makes that difference. There are 302,000 people sleeping on the streets right now. There's 84,000 people in prison. Drug-related deaths are at the highest level yourself, keep warm, and look after your family and friends, you are living a comparative life of privilege. And I implore you to recognise that and see the people that are struggling. You could be an out-and-out superhero like Jane if you have the connection, the opportunity and the environment to share. But if not, don't worry. She needs sidekicks too. And that's every one of us, every single day. I know that life is overwhelming at the moment, and I know that I'm talking about an extreme example, and we're all struggling in a variety of different ways, whether that's marriage breakdown, redundancy, mental health problems, whatever it is. Let's look to each other. It isn't a competition, it isn't a race to the end. It's about us all living our best life. I want two things from my life. I want to be a good mum. I want my girls never, ever to doubt the absolute, unconditional love that I have for them. And I want to stop the cycle of abuse for as many people as I possibly can. And I'm asking you to recognise the power that you have. Smile by smile, kind word by kind word, include always. You have the power to make the difference every day. Thank you.